Do you remember the beginning? The way they looked at you like you were the only person in the room. The messages that came before you even finished missing them. The way they said things, exactly the right things, like they had been studying your heart for years. You thought, finally someone who sees me. Finally, someone who chooses me completely. Finally, the kind of love you'd only read about. You weren't wrong to feel that. You weren't naive. You weren't foolish, but you were being targeted. What you felt in those early weeks and months was one of the most sophisticated psychological manipulation tactics ever studied. It had a name long before it had a mainstream vocabulary. It's called love bombing, and by the end of this video, you will never fall for it again. Love bombing is the deliberate, intensive flooding of a target with affection, attention, flattery, and apparent devotion, in order to create rapid emotional attachment before the target has had the time or information to make a clear judgment. The term was first used by researchers studying cult behavior, specifically the tactics used by cult leaders to rapidly bind new members to the group before their defenses could engage. What they discovered is that the same tactics used in cults are used, often instinctively, by individuals with narcissistic and dark triad personality traits in romantic relationships. The goal is always the same. They get inside before the gates close. A healthy relationship builds trust slowly, because trust is earned through repeated, consistent, observed behavior over time. Love bombing bypasses this entirely. It floods the system before the evaluation process begins. And once attachment has formed through love bombing, it does not matter what comes next, because the brain has already been bonded, already compromised, already addicted to a version of this person that was never real. These are the signs. Be honest with yourself as you hear each one. Sign 1. The intensity was overwhelming from the start. Within days or weeks, not months, they were talking about the future. Your future together, where you'd live, what you'd build. It felt like fate, like recognition, like finally. In reality, a healthy person takes time to build that certainty. Intensity that arrives before knowledge is a red flag, no matter how good it feels. Sign 2. They were available, constantly. They responded to every message immediately. They rearranged their life to be with you. They had no boundaries around their time, because all of it was yours. This doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like devotion, but it is also a signal that they are not living their own life. They are performing the role of your perfect partner, and performances always end. Sign 3. The compliments were specific and perfectly calibrated. They didn't say, "You're beautiful." They said exactly the things you had always needed to hear, the things you'd told yourself in private you would never find. That precision is not a coincidence. It is the product of paying extremely close attention to your vulnerabilities and feeding them. Sign 4. They made you feel uniquely chosen, not just loved, chosen, above everyone, different from everyone they'd ever met. I've never felt this way before. You're unlike anyone I've known. I don't understand how you exist. That feeling of being uniquely selected is intoxicating, and it creates an invisible debt, the unconscious belief that you must live up to the extraordinary version of you they've constructed. Sign 5. The pace was set entirely by them. Every escalation, every "I love you," every meeting of family, every deepening of intimacy happened on their timeline. Fast, decisive, no room for your natural pace to exist. You were being moved forward before you were ready, because your readiness was not the goal. Your attachment was. Sign 6. You felt mildly uneasy, beneath the excitement. This one is subtle, and most people dismiss it. But somewhere under the joy, there was a quiet, uncertain feeling. Too fast, too much, something I can't quite name. Your nervous system was already sending a signal. The love bombing was already working, but something biological in you recognized it as pressure, not presence. You should have trusted that feeling. Most of us don't, because the warmth above it is too loud. Love bombing is not just emotionally overwhelming, it is neurologically overwhelming. When someone floods you with attention, validation, and affection, your brain releases massive quantities of dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. These are the same chemicals released in the early stages of genuine love. Your brain cannot tell the difference between manufactured and real. It only processes the input, and the input of love bombing is designed to be maximum intensity, because maximum intensity produces maximum neurochemical response. Researchers studying romantic attachment have found that unpredictable, intense, rapidly escalating relationships produce stronger neurochemical bonding than stable, gradual ones. This is the same principle behind gambling addiction, not the certainty of reward, but the intensity and unpredictability of it. Love bombing creates a neurological state that is clinically comparable to addiction, which is why, when it stops, and it always stops, you don't feel disappointed. You feel withdrawal. There is always a moment when it ends. It is usually sudden, and it is usually tied to one of two things. Either you did something that revealed you as a full, complex, autonomous person with needs and limits of your own, or they decided the attachment was secure enough that the performance was no longer required. And what replaces it is not cruelty, not always. Sometimes it's simply absence. The messages slow down, the intensity drops. The carefully chosen words are replaced by silence or irritation. And you, neurochemically bonded, psychologically conditioned to expect flooding, experience this as devastating loss. You assume something is wrong with you. You try to restore what you had. You perform for them the way they once performed for you. This is not weakness. This is chemistry. But this is also the moment where the trap closes, because now you are chasing, and chasers can be controlled. If you are an intelligent person, and you are, you may have asked yourself, how did I not see it? Here is why. Love bombing specifically exploits self-awareness. A self-aware person has examined their wounds. They know what they need. They know what they haven't had. They know the shape of the love they've been waiting for. That self-knowledge, in healthy relationships, protects you, because you can evaluate whether someone meets those needs over time. But a love bomber reads that self-knowledge the same way a skilled marksman reads wind, direction. They use the information you consciously hold about yourself to manufacture the exact experience you described as your deepest longing. You didn't fall for a trick. You fell for a perfect replica of your own answered prayer. No amount of intelligence protects against that, because intelligence wasn't the vulnerability. Longing was, and longing is human. The goal is not to stop trusting. The goal is to learn to trust slowly and proudly. Here is how. Step 1. Make time your non-negotiable boundary. Intensity in the first weeks is not evidence of depth. It is evidence of strategy. Or, at minimum, immaturity. Real love reveals itself in months, not days. Give every relationship the gift of time, especially when everything inside you wants to rush. Step 2. Notice what you're being given versus what you're learning. A love bomber gives you feelings, overwhelming, intoxicating feelings. But ask, what do I actually know about this person? Their history, their conflicts, how they behave when disappointed, how they treat people they have no reason to impress. Feelings are not information. Observation over time is. Step 3. Trust the quiet signal. If something feels like too much, if the pace feels faster than your body is comfortable with, that discomfort is data, not a sign that you're broken or afraid of love. A sign that your nervous system is registering a mismatch. Listen to it before the neurochemicals drown it out. Step 4. Test with small, natural friction. Healthy people handle small disappointments graciously. When you need to reschedule, change your mind, or assert a boundary, watch what happens. A love bomber's reaction to small friction reveals everything. Disproportionate hurt, pressure, or coldness in response to normal human behavior, is not love. It is control, struggling to maintain its grip. Step 5. Let the relationship breathe at its own pace. Resist the pull to match their intensity. Respond at your own natural speed. Maintain your friendships, your space, your life. A person who loves you will respect the pace of your growth. A person who needs to control you will not. The beginning felt like a fairy tale, and some part of you has never fully forgiven yourself for believing in it. Stop. You didn't believe in a lie. You believed in a possibility. You believed that someone could see you fully. All the things you prize, always hope to be seen for, and choose you completely. That belief is not naivety. That belief is one of the most human things about you. They didn't create your longing. They read it, and they wrote themselves into the story your heart had already been telling. That story is not ruined. It was interrupted by someone who wasn't written for it. You are still the author. The story is still yours. And now, you know exactly how to recognize someone who is trying to steal the pen. Don't let them. Subscribe. New psychology every week. Comment below. Did any of the 6 signs sound familiar to you? Share this with someone still confused about why the beginning felt so perfect. Copyright Motivation Thrones. Do not republish without permission.